our longest standing practitioner. She's been doing this work longer than anybody at this center. And because of that, we have a new designation for her. We're going to get big trouble for being this close with that mask, but I don't care. So what I am holding in my hand is a certificate that says, "Be it known that the Leadership Council of Centers for Spiritual Living, by virtue of the authority in it vested, has authorized and hereby grants the recognition of Practitioner Emeritus to Devon J. Embler, RSCP, with all honors, privileges, and obligations thereto appertaining. This recognition is made at Golden, Colorado, and is in full force and effect on the 22nd day of September 2020. That's when we requested this. Congratulations. And we've got a letter from Home Office from Reverend Barbara Brew, who's the manager of the Department of Licensing and Credentialing and a dear friend of mine, who says, "Dear Devon, on behalf of Centers for Spiritual Living, I am honored to recognize you as Practitioner Emeritus of Religious Science. You have made a difference in the world. Please know that this special designation is held with the highest regard and distinguishes you as a practitioner with 20 plus years of service," which would mean that you became a practitioner when you were 4. "And modeling the science of mind and spirit principles and practices. Congratulations, and thank you for being a beacon of love and light to your community. Richest blessings, Reverend Barbara Brew." Thank you. They're going to turn us in. I love you. Yeah, absolutely.
Congratulations. Awesome. Rarely does that happen. So if you don't know me or haven't spent much time here at the center or anything in between there, you will know that this is my heart. This is how I live my life. This is what I do. The teaching, yes, but the community, yes. And it's important to me because it saved my life. And it's absolutely 100% without doubt made me who I am today. And that's a far stretch since I first met these two beautiful beings back even before the cornfield days. So what Barbara, it's very serendipitous, the best of Barbara, which I choose, by the way. And so the being vigilant in thought, and she was right, this is 24/7. You don't get a break. But I'll tell you, you don't need a break, because what happens when you do this 24/7 is your life gets frickin' amazing. And it's delicious in every single way. So I'm humbled, I'm grateful, and I plan to just keep on walking the talk and doing this work, because this is what I love. I love this community. I love everyone here, and I love what we are doing as a community. And I love living in truth. So join me and celebrate with me, and let's keep on making this the best center ever.
Yeah.
And just one more thing, I need a private moment here.
I'm so proud of you. I love you so much. We're all going to cry.
Hugging for all of us. With no mask. But I know who I am, and I know I'm healthy.
Yes, I
This woman right here. This man. Right here. I knew her first.
I know, and you should acknowledge her. Absolutely. That was lovely. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. We're going to talk about wholeness. That's something that just popped for me this past week, something that is kind of abstract. What does wholeness mean? How does that work, that we're whole? I mean, you can take it on a very casual level and go, sure, I'm whole. I have no deficits. I'm okay. But I think it's something deeper than that, and it goes really to the core of our teaching and the way we use our teaching. The idea that we work from that place of knowing our wholeness allows us to speak the truth for any human being and find changes in that. And how does that work anyway? That I can do what we call a spiritual mind treatment, an affirmative prayer, right where I am, and that somebody 1,000 miles away can have some benefit from that, can see some change in their life. Well, I want to speak to that because I think that's part of this wholeness idea. I think not only are we whole as individuals, but that we are whole as a species on planet Earth, that we've all come here and created an agreement to be in the same environment and to interact in a way that is essential to our being who we have come here to be. We did not come here to be alone. We did not come here to hide out in the woods or to live a life that doesn't exchange with other people. I think that the genius of however this was created, and I don't give that to some idea of a creator. I don't know how it happened that we're all here, but I know that we're all here, and it is by design, and it has value. So the idea of this is true. Now, one thing that I think some people think wholeness is about is that everything gets to be hunky-dory in our lives, and I'm not sure that's what it means. I think that the wholeness aspect of who we are is much more about who we are on a spiritual plane than necessarily a physical plane. I mean, there are a lot of people that I've met, and you have too, that seem a little broken. But the truth is they're as whole as you are. They just don't know it. And an example in this idea of physical form is that we all have things that challenge us, circumstances, but also physical aspects of us that challenges us. I mean, you all know that Barbara had a stroke last December, and that she's been working diligently since then to improve her physical ability to move and use her body in a full way. And she's made great progress, but at the same time, some might look at her and say, well, she's not whole. And I want you to know that's just not true. She's absolutely whole in every way. I've been watching her. And she's as present and complete in who she is today as she ever was. As she was when she made that recording, and that recording was made of her. She knows who she is. And although there's challenges involved, life's about challenges. It's okay, and it's never what the challenges we face that are important. It's how we deal with those challenges, what we do with them, how we use them in our lives. That's what's important. And I want you to know that Barbara is still my teacher. She teaches me how to move through adversity. I mean, I can't tell you the nights, and it doesn't happen all the time, but it has happened over the last year a number of times where I would just start sobbing, and she'd want to know what's wrong. And I would tell her how lost I am in this idea of her having physical limitations. And she would just pat me and go, oh, John, it's not so bad. Hello? I mean, does the woman understand the teaching or what? It's so amazing. I can't look at her when I'm speaking or I lose my place. But this was a key thing. So to give you a kind of a comical look of how that works, we cannot think ourselves beyond the laws of physics. If we're going to have physical bodies, our physical bodies are going to be bound to the law of physics. For example, nobody can do this yet. And wasn't Christopher Reeve the best Superman ever? We want to, right? So what do? We use the law of sciences to figure out how we can do things. We create aircraft. Or we create flying suits like this. This is a real flying suit. Back in the 1960s, I remember I was a kid, and the futurists would say, by the turn of the century, by the year 2000, there won't be cars anymore. Everybody would be flying around. Oh, well. But this particular model does work, and it's a very inexpensive $600,000 if you want to get one. But apparently, and you can't go very far because you can't hold enough fuel. But we find our ways to work around the physical parameters of being on planet Earth and being who having the bodies that we have and doing the work that we do. But we're not limited to that in the sense that who we are is something greater than that. The wholeness that we are is something much deeper and much more profound than any physical concerns or situations. And it's our job to remember that no matter what's happening in our lives, no matter how bad things look, hard they look, challenging they seem, it doesn't matter. We're still whole. We have everything that we need to live our lives full out. And that's what's happening. So this idea of living our lives in wholeness is not conditional. It doesn't change. The circumstances don't speak to how whole we are. We are absolutely whole. I mean, this is a place where we tell you that the presence of the divine dwells at the point of view, infinitely at the point of view, which means that you don't get any break on that. And the work that you heard Barbara say in her Best of Barbara today is, the work is to remember it. That's what we have to do. It's really not about gaining some level of wholeness. Wholeness is not an achievement. It's a statement of truth about who we are as spiritual beings. And that's the greater truth of who we are. Now, there's this idea of wholeness, and I thought I'd give you a little exercise to see how it could play out in a little quiz that I want to give you. So I'm going to give you a phrase to read, and then I have an assignment for you. So here's the phrase. Finished files are a result of years of scientific study combined with the experience of many years of learning. And the thing that I want you to do is tell me how many F's there are. I'll give you a second here to think about it. So, who thinks that there are only 2 F's in the picture? 3? Okay, you see 3. Okay. What those of you that raise your hand are perfectly normal. This happens to everybody. What you do is you slide right over the word of, which is a short little word, and it leaves it out. So really, the F's on the screen that you can see right there, count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so do we agree that there are 7? Actually, there's 8. Yeah, there's another one. So the fact that you didn't see all of them, does that mean they weren't there? No. Same works with wholeness. It works exactly the same way with wholeness, in that just because you don't see your wholeness doesn't mean it's not there. It is there. It's always there. And your job is to remember it and to apply it to whatever is going on in your life. You're not trying to change it. You're trying to remember who you are. That's the work. That's always the work, is to remember who we are and to let everything in our lives come from that idea of wholeness and how we move forward with that clear understanding. Again, wholeness is casual. Yes, I live in wholeness. It's a lovely thought. It's ethereal. But it's also very practical. Now, there's an element of being on planet Earth that really speaks to our wholeness, beyond even our individuality, into that idea of all of them. And it gets into some quantum mechanics that I want to share with you. And I'm going to check my notes here to make sure that I don't screw up the words that I want to say. There's this, in the physical plane, the Earth's surface has a positive electrical charge. So the surface of the Earth, the place where the grass and trees are growing and where we're walking around, has a positive charge. But 50 miles up is another level. It's called the Ionosphere, and it has a negative charge. That does a number of things. One thing it does is that all lightning that you can see actually comes from the ground, goes up. It doesn't look like that when you see it because it blasts you with that light. But the truth is that that's the way it moves. But what's more interesting to me is this kind of explains how gravity works. Because what that does is that creates a physical charge between that ionosphere point and the surface of the Earth point that actually creates and there's a word for it, and it's not coming. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I guess it doesn't matter. It's there on the page, and it won't show it. Oh, there it is. It's called the electrostatic field. That 50-mile field is actually what holds you down to the Earth, but it does something else. It actually has a consistency to it that we don't realize because we're here. It doesn't do anything to us. It's like a fish doesn't notice the water. We're here in this electrostatic field, and one physicist actually called it like we're like raisins in Jell-O, in that if one raisin shakes, all the raisins shake and move because they're in the Jell-O. So we're in this field, and inside of this field, when we have a thought, it's available to anyone on the planet. Thoughts actually come from electrical particles. They're energy. They're just energy, but they're particles. And they're all accompanied by waves. And the waves travel at actually faster than the speed of light. That's why it so instantly can be known in one place that something is so and have an impact somewhere else. It's why our teaching is that our treatments, our prayer work, is non-local. Just because we said it here doesn't mean that it's not impacting everything. It is. It physically is. That particle that travels faster than the particle is with the wave that is traveling faster than the speed of light. And the speed of light can go around the Earth 4 times in a second. So that means that everything that is known anywhere on this planet is known everywhere simultaneously. That's an interesting thing. And the things that they say impact things that are vibrating in this electrostatic field are 2. One is frequency. And the frequency speaks to how often we think the thought. And if we think it regularly and consciously, and we're thinking it over and over and over again, that frequency of our thought makes it stronger. And the other piece of that is amplitude. How clear are we about what we're thinking? Are we applying an emotional input to it, which also is energy, which also travels as particles with waves? When we experience an emotional experience of a thought, it's happening everywhere inside the atmosphere of this planet. Now, that doesn't mean everybody can notice it because not everybody is tuned into that. But we notice it, and I certainly have said 1,000 times that our bodies notice it because our bodies hear every thought that we have. And if we keep telling ourselves that we're sick, our body will get sick. If we believe it, every cell in our body will accept that as a truth and will act accordingly. But it's even bigger than that. It takes up the whole planet. Every thought that you have is happening instantly everywhere on the planet. Isn't that mind-boggling? And to me, that speaks to the wholeness of who we are. It speaks to that absoluteness that we are. In everything that we're involved in is available to everybody. That's why we have people like Devon and all of our other practitioners that can, in their clarity, know the truth for somebody that they've never met who lives, in Oshkosh. And with their permission, they will know that truth. They will see that person who is facing some kind of a challenge, moving through the challenge and arriving beyond that, whether it's going into surgery or facing some other crisis in their lives. Our practitioners know the truth of them. They know it clearly. They know it constantly. They know it with absolute certainty. And then we get a call that says everything worked out. Because that's the way it works. And that's our wholeness. That's how we function in wholeness. It's quite exceptional that we can do that. So this idea of wholeness, we don't want to take lightly. We don't want to think that it's not something real. It's very real. We live in a state of wholeness. We have everything that we need. All information is available to us. If we would just shut up long enough to get it, if we would just settle down and let it be. When we say, I don't know what to do, we're blocking our wholeness. We're getting in the way. When we say all is lost and things start crumbling around us, we're doing that. Because life responds to those energy particles of our thoughts and our emotions and respond accordingly. You know, we teach this thing that there's this spiritual law that impacts it, and there may well be. I haven't actually ever seen the spiritual law, but it seems logical to see it that way. But whether there's spiritual law or not, we are having this impact on ourselves and one another by what we think. And when we recognize and approach life from that idea of wholeness, we get a result that we like. We get a result that is powerful. We get an outcome that makes life better for us when we're clear that we're in charge. We're in charge of our lives, no matter what. And that the wholeness that we are expands from us, touching everyone on this planet. So I invite you, have nice thoughts about the people on the planet, because this thing about it going around the earth 4 times means it's plowing into you 4 times too. So if there's right, and this is where I think we're falling short right now, and maybe not in this room, but in our culture, is this idea that we're finding people who are running for public office, for political office, as bad or wrong. That's not going to impact them near as much as it impacts us. So maybe we want to revisit that and not see so much bad in all these people, not get caught up in the wrongness that is being presented to us in millions of dollars worth of advertising, and accept that all of these beings are the same whole beings that we are. And all is well with them, no matter what their journey is. To be elected or to not be elected is their journey. And our best thing to do is to know who we are and to work from that in our lives. And with that, we get the outcome that we want. Spiritual mind treatment works on this principle of wholeness. So don't limit yourself in your thinking. Always be open to the possibility that something greater can show up in your life, because the limitations that we have are all about us and nothing else. And the way I love to end these conversations is often with words from other people. So I've got 3 of them for you, 3 quotes that I want to share with you. The first one comes from someone in our movement, Unity Minister Eric Butterworth, a real powerhouse in our movement. He says, "A true desire is not to have, but to be. We are whole creatures in potential," he says, "in potential, and the true purpose of desire is to unfold that wholeness to become what we can be." So he says that our wholeness exists in potential, that we're not all living it out loud. We're not all bringing it forth, but that is our purpose. I can go with that. Thank you, Eric. This is Meg Wheatley. She was one of my important teachers when I was working on my PhD. She says, when we seek connection, we restore the world to wholeness. Our seemingly separate lives become meaningful as we discover how truly necessary we are to each other. Good teacher. And the final one from the great master poet. You don't need another person, place, or thing to make you whole. God already did that. Your job is to know it. I could not agree more. Thank you, Maya. Yay. So take this home with you. Think about it. Recognize that there are lots of times when you're having limiting thoughts that don't speak to your wholeness. When those come up in your head, kick them out and go with the idea that you are perfect, you are whole, and you are complete in every way. Let that be your truth, and let that light shine bright in all that you think, say, and do. You are that brilliance and that beauty. Let it be so, and so it is. Yeah, thank you.